Hello, welcome to the Thinking Stack. Today we are going to discuss useState in React. In React, state is what makes your app dynamic, and useState is usually the very first hook that everyone uses in their components in React to maintain the state of any variable that is required in that component. In this video, I'll break down the use of useState, when should we use it, and how should we use it, and common pitfalls that we have with useState. I have this small setup of React application using React Router, which I used for my routing basics video. So I'll continue with the same setup. So let me add a component by the name of state. And within this, let's create another file called as state.tsx. While we are here, let's export the function as well. And let's give it some heading so that we can identify. Use state examples. Okay, let's save this for now. And let's ensure that we can navigate to this page. So create another file called as state.tsx. And here just copy paste the contents from any of the files that you'll find in this code base. Demo, and let's call state and fix the port. Let's remove this as it is not required, and let us just go and run this application. Vim run dev. I have my React application running on port 5173 now. Let's open this, and right now it shows the login page. Let's just go and fix the route where to navigate. So let's call this as route as well, and let's call it as login, so that now I can call index and just call routes slash state.tsx. And we need to add a comma after this, as we are in giving the array of routes. So if we go back and we have useState examples. Let us give some margin to it. Div, class names, and let's set padding 8. Let's close this div tag. Let's build a small counter to just understand how a useState hook works in React. So let's define our useState variables. See counter set count and useState from, and import it from React. Let's initialize with 0. Now let's give another div tag. Give its class name as margin 4 and p4. Within this, let's have another h3 tag. and call it as counter example. Okay, now let's just show what the count is. So just let's take a pause here and see what gets displayed in our browser right now. So right now, the counter example, I have the count value being set to 0 that was initialized with this value. Let us call a button on click of which we'll call the set count function. Set count to count plus equals to 1. And let's close this. Since it is a constant, I cannot reassign its value, and then for set count I just need to assign a new value to it. Call it as increment. Let's save it. Let's see if this works. Yes. So let me put this in some paragraph tags. So that I have it in different lines. So it maintains the state even after the soft refresh of our application that happens whenever we save our file. But if I click on it, it will keep on incrementing. If I refresh my page, it resets to 0. And again click, it will increase. So this is the very basic example. Now let's jump to some interesting areas where I can use this useState hook to maintain my states in a particular component. When we usually go to our login screens or a sign up page in any application, you would have seen the password field. It will show you your input password in plain text, and at times it will not show depending upon the icon you click. So let's imitate that in our application right now. Let us introduce another example below this itself. And let's use the same class. What we can do is we can add a border here as well. Here as well. So I'm calling this as my password example. Let's add an input tag to this. So in this input, my type, let's initially keep it as password, and let's introduce a button for our simplicity. On click of this, I'll call a function that will update the state. So let's introduce a state, another state for password. Let us keep it as show password. And let's call it as set show password. And useState, and let's initialize this with false. And let us call set show password and invert the value of show password. Let's log this show password for now and let's go. So this is my text box. Let me put a border around this as well. See, yeah, I can identify. So this is, I'm entering anything, it is showing as password. So if I click on this, it is not showing me anything for now because it is a boolean. Let us change the type on the value of, if my show password is true, then I will show it as text, else let us use the password. So let me dot to string, just check, does it display anything? Okay, it is displaying true or false. And if I click show password, so just for our ease, so it is also becoming false if we see. Now I don't need this. Let's remove this and let's change the text here as well. I'll call show when my show password is false. So hide, else show password, just save it. So if I click on show password, it shows whatever I entered. If I click on hide password, both things change at the same time. I think this would give you an idea where all your useState can be used. Now that we have learned how to use useState, so let's understand some advantages of using the useState. One being it is easy to use and understand in our components. Second, it is simple to use and effective way to maintain a state in our UI components. Third is it helps us to make our UI interactive. Now, some common problems that we get with useState are, so this with this example, I just had 2 or 3 useStates that I am using in a component. But if I have to use this with useState for a whole lot of components, it becomes messier to maintain that component. Then this useState is just limited to my component where I use it. If I have to pass the values of this state to another component, I will need that another component to be a child component of this component and pass the state as a prop. But we cannot be using props in too much of a nested state, else it becomes unmanageable in our application. The third and the most important that I feel as a disadvantage with useState is that useState works asynchronously, which causes the any other code to which is synchronous in nature to be ineffective in nature. That's a quick deep dive into using a useState hook in React. Remember, it is simple to use, but use it effectively and don't overuse it in your applications. If you have found this content useful for you, drop me a like or subscribe this channel and let me know in the comments which hook should I cover next in React. Thank you.